Now, back to the show. More with Straka and Krempel.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Mike Straka, Christian Krempel. We're talking about the legendary John Madden. We're joined now by Roman Gabriel, a man who knows Madden very well. Roman, I was saying you've interviewed practically every football player in the NFL. What was your relationship like with John Madden?
Well, first of all, Mike, great to be with you. And, my relationship with in terms of those Raider teams, those championship teams, was growing up in Los Angeles. My dad was with the Rams, and back in the late 60s, and John Madden came in 69, 70. They used to play a game called the Times Charity Game, and the Raiders would come in the preseason and play the Rams. And so I got to see up close, those great teams, Art Shell, Gene Upshaw, Dave Dalby, Mark Van Eegen, John Matuzak. And you go on down the line with the Hall of Famers and great players of those AFC championship teams, and, of course, Madden's 77-78 team that beat the Raiders in the Rose Bowl. But I also got a chance to experience that when I went to the Raiders and had a chance to play with all those guys late in their career in 1982. So I was a big fan of the Raiders in terms of their championship ways. And John Madden was just, incredible, iconic coach that really set the tone for the Raider dynasty. Al Davis was a big personality. John Madden was a big personality, but he just seemed to have a way to get this, group of guys that were totally different, that were almost like cartoon characters and crazy, some of them, during a time in the NFL where toughness was at the top of your list. So he did an incredible job. I mean, when you think about a 75% winning percentage, that'd be like, if you're playing a 16-game season, that'd be 12-4 every year. So to win the number of, it's almost like every year the Raiders were in the championship game or playing for all the marbles. So he was very unique. What I got to know him, through interviewing him 2 or 3 times. The first time I think was 1996 in New Orleans at the Super Bowl when he and Pat Summerall were going to call the Super Bowl. And of course, I had a great affinity for Pat Summerall because that was my generation. We grew up with Pat Summerall. But when John Madden came to the table with John as an announcer, and a lot of people don't know John Madden as a coach. This last generation, it's either Madden football or you got to know him as an announcer in the whole Thanksgiving thing and the all Madden team. But for me, he was a great coach. And then, of course, I grew up right in the heyday when he became an incredible, announcer and made such a difference in so many people's lives and changed so many things about the NFL. The guy just was incredibly detailed, but he kept it simple. His teams, I played on that Raider team with a lot of those guys. It was very simple. It was show up on time, get your work done, be teachable. And, of course, he was a teacher and a coach first. He'd tell you that. And then go out and play hard.
Roman, I was always wondering, because everything that I remember about Madden, because I'm 52 years old, I'm a little too young for those early Raiders teams that you were mentioning. So I'm wondering, how tough was he on such a tough lineup of players? Because they were the toughest guys in the NFL back then.
Well, the thing that I noticed, when I came in there as a rookie, was that the Raiders had fun. When they weren't in between the lines, they had a lot of fun. There was a great camaraderie in that team. And, of course, most of the guys were in their early 30s to close to 40 years old. So they knew each other very well. They knew exactly how to depend on each other. They knew exactly what they were going to get. And, of course, Tom Flores, who I came in, who was my coach with the Raiders, was on that staff, and, of course, a great quarterback for the Raiders and a quarterback coach. So he just pretty much took that group of players that Madden left and continued to win. As you know, they beat the Eagles in 1980 and then went on in 83 to beat, what many people thought the Washington Redskins were the best football team in the NFL. So I'll never forget my first preseason game with the Raiders was against the world champion San Francisco 49ers. And looking across the field, there was Joe Montana, Dwight Clark, Roger Craig, Ronnie Lott. On our side, you had Cliff Branch and John Matuzak and Ted Hendricks and Mark Van Egan and Jim Plunkett. I'll never forget going into the locker room before our first game, and just 20 minutes before we're going out in the field, and some guys are smoking cigarettes, reading the newspaper, laughing, music playing, and I'm like, man, do these guys ever get ready to play, or is this just a joke? But as soon as their cleats hit the lines, in between the lines, it was all business, because they had been with each other for so long and knew each other so well. And what John Madden did, Tom Flores took over as part of that coaching tree, and really just took John's team and did the same thing, which was, hey, let's go out, have a lot of fun, work hard, and play hard to the whistle. And those guys were a lot of characters, and both those coaches, Coach Madden and Coach Flores, let them be who they are. There's a lot of coaches out there that it's going to be one way or the highway, and that was kind of the way coaches coached back then. They really didn't fit to you; you had to fit to them. So they were very entrenched in their style. But John Madden, and when I was Tom Flores there, they wanted everybody to be their own personality, and what they did off the field, if they were crazy or if they were, Todd Christensen was a little, I remember meeting him. Todd was all over the place. Was just, everybody had a sense of humor, and it was a fun locker room to be in. So they just let them be them, and those same guys that had trouble fitting, a square peg into a round hole, and some of those other teams that let them go that said they were done, they had plenty of life left. They just needed to be themselves and a coach to let them do that, and that's what the Raiders did.
Incidentally, since you mentioned those older players, a couple of weeks ago we had Rod Garcia. He was a kicker for the Raiders back in those days. I don't know if you ever met him.
Well, Ray Guy was there when I was there, of course, considered to be maybe the greatest punter in NFL history. And but there was also a pride, and that's what Al Davis set the tone with. When you came into their facility in Oakland, there was a giant, Raider head, and the big words above it, pride and poise. So underneath all that, guys' veneer and characters and having fun, was an incredible work ethic and will to win. And Al Davis didn't put up with anything else. That was the way he wanted his players to be coached. That's the way he wanted his coaches to coach. And I will say this, Al was a coach himself and a general manager. And, John Madden and Tom Flores both was kind of like Jerry Jones, but to a totally different level, because Al coached himself and played. He knew the game, and he liked to coach. Even when I was there, he was coaching on the field, and he'd take the coaches at halftime, go in there and talk to them during a game. It really was John Madden had to have the right personality to work with Al Davis. That was a challenge, but winning solves everything. And that's what the Raiders were all about, was winning, the winningest franchise, of the late 60s and 70s, and them and the Cowboys were pretty much, on the radar every single year as the team to beat during that time. So, and then of course those great rivalries with the Steelers and with the Dolphins back in that day. There was so much parity, so many great football players, and it was John Madden coached during the golden age of the NFL.
Absolutely. Now, the NFL only released that he died unexpectedly. I don't know if you have any updates on. Has anybody said how he died?
No, nobody said how he died. It was unexpected, but based on some people that I know, his health wasn't great. I mean, John was overweight, and from what I hear, like I said, obviously he was 85 as well. So when you have some secondary issues, that's going to become a problem. My dad's, only 4 years younger than him, and he's had 2 strokes, and he's not in great condition anymore. So he does his best to do that, but when you have secondary conditions, it becomes, it doesn't take a lot. So what I find to be, a real blessing and incredible is that Fox did this, put together this documentary that aired, during the Christmas time about Coach Madden, and obviously that they had urgency to want to finish that, and that, as busy as all these guys are, the Troy Aikmans, the Lawrence Taylors, and all these other guys that were part of that, when you ask 38 people to be part of a documentary about John Madden and all 38 say they're in, that tells you a little bit about the respect that players and coaches and people that were in that family of the NFL had for him.
Now, were you surprised at all at John Madden's success as a football analyst and a broadcaster?
I don't think so, because one of the things, my dad was a broadcaster with CBS and did college and NFL football, and I've interviewed a lot of guys that are greats at it, like the Bob Costases and the Charlie Joneses and Jim Grays, those kind of people, and all of them will tell you kind of the same thing. You can't be somebody else; you got to be yourself. And John Madden did a great job of being John Madden. He was exactly on television as he is in real life, and I would venture to say it was no different at home. Extremely detail oriented. Always was interested in making sure things were authentic and specific, and always prepared. And of course, you have to give Pat Summerall a great deal of credit too, because John couldn't have been who he is because John needed a lot of words to do his thing. And Pat Summerall was a consummate professional, was a former player and coach, which Madden loved. And he was very minimalist, and he understood that Madden was the show. He just needed to, get the lead in and get him going. So that team together was an incredible team and really played off each other. And Madden, was really just who he is. And, a lot of people say, he was a genius, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure he's as much a genius as that John Madden is just John Madden. There'll never be another one. And he was very unique as a coach, very unique as a color guy. And then, of course, the Madden game and the whole all Madden team was just John Madden's personality of, I want guys that are tough, play hard, have character, and have a lot of fun playing the game and love the game.
One of my great memories as a child when I was watching football with my father on TV were those Miller Lite commercials that John Madden and Bob Uecker did. And man, and Rodney Dangerfield, those were some of the best commercials that were ever made. And I once in a while I'll go on YouTube and just rewatch them because they were so iconic to my childhood memories of watching football with my dad.
Well, if you think about it, when Madden came out of football, which was the early 70s, started doing commercials before he got into color work, he was as big as you could be without social networking. I mean, everybody knew who John Madden was, and he was a man of the people. I mean, when he did his bus deal where he didn't want to fly and took a bus across country, he gave everybody time. He never, he was never too big for anybody. He remained humble. And one of the things that I found out, through the documentary is that one of the hardest things to do in being a coach is to be a good father and a good husband, because the game, if you're going to be a great coach, family is the thing that usually suffers. And back then, it was all about football, and a lot of coaches spent a lot of nights sleeping in their office. George Allen was that way. A lot of coaches back at that time. But when you watch his sons talk about him, you see that he was a credible father as well as a good husband. So how he was able to juggle all those things with everything that he had going on showed that he also kept his sense of humility and also had the ability to keep things in order at home, which is an incredibly tough thing to do if you're in the public like he was.
All right, one last thing before I let you go, Roman. I know you're a busy guy. If you could just sum up your relationship with Madden, or how you remember John Madden in a few words.
He was always great to me. Obviously, there was a connection with my father. Of course, he played against my dad. My dad's, Rams played against his Raiders team, usually in the preseason. My dad was also drafted number one in the AFL and the NFL, and the Raiders and Al Davis wanted him. and he ended up staying with the Rams when the two leagues merged. So there was always a connection between my father and the Raiders. So, he knew that, me being my dad's son. And so we had a lot to talk about because I did understand about those old Raider teams and about what he accomplished, and loved the way he had a passion for football.
Roman, how did hearing about John Madden's death affect you personally?
For me, it's just it's a tough thing because when I think about an 85-year-old John Madden, I think about my 81-year-old father because my dad's health is not that great, and I don't know how much longer he's going to be around. So it does humanize things. It does get you to thinking about things more important than football. And I'm sure for his family, it's a very difficult thing to lose someone who's been the father and the husband that he was. And I know this, that players that played for him, players that grew up, during Madden football, like this generation, they all enjoyed, his effervescent personality, the way he had a passion for the game, because that's something that sometimes can get lost in all the money and all the free agency and all this new world of football today, is the passion of football. And John Madden, if not of anything that he did, whether it was through the Madden football game, through the All-Madden team, through Miller Lite commercial, through his coaching career, he had an incredible love and passion for the game, and that's what everybody really loved about him. Is we all love football, but this guy was football.
Roman Gabriel, he has a podcast at RomanGabrielShow.com. He's also here on the Big 8 every Saturday at 10 a.m. Roman Gabriel here on the Big 8 every Saturday at 10 a.m. or RomanGabrielShow.com. Thank you so much for your time. Really great memories of John Madden. I appreciate it so much.
You bet. I thank you.
All right. Have a great day. Roman Gabriel, everybody. We'll be right back here, Straka and Krempel on the Big 8.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching The Roman Gabriel Show. And for more exclusive video and audio archives, go to our official website at RomanGabrielShow.com. That's RomanGabrielShow.com. And enjoy. We'll see you soon.
Listen to The Roman Gabriel Show at RomanGabrielShow.com or wherever you listen to podcasts.